Welcome to the grim, lawless 23rd century, following the fall of U.S. Gov and mass depopulation of major cities at the hands of the multi-trillionaire de Huberton family. Baptized in radioactive hellfire, a rare mutation makes Turbo a fiercely pumped scrapper, haunted by specters from her past, surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland one deathmatch pit fight at a time. But when she rescues the stunning trophy girl, the unlikely duo are thrust into a harrowing odyssey, evading marauding berserkers at every turn on their way to the ultimate showdown as they uncover the horrific truth behind the fall of humanity.
Good morning.
Hello.
Chick.
Welcome, people, to another episode of Turbo Pit Fighter, the making of the comic, live on the air. This is the making of the teaser, you got the first 12 pages all here encapsulated, and some bonus content, right? All this, which we're gonna have to we're gonna do a little segment here on the end of the world timeline.
Yeah.
And I think the first, here's our rundown for today. Today we're going to talk about the Comic-Con I was at yesterday, because I spoke to some celebs, and we're going to talk about the end of the world timeline a little bit. We're going to first off, we're going to be doing the Turbo teaser walkthrough, because we're finalizing this before going to press. And I think we just wanted to, on a somber note, just kind of timestamp that this was the week that Ed Piskor passed.
Right.
So why don't let's get that out of the way.
The last the episode that's going up today, which was Easter Sunday, he had not passed. So there was a lot of optimism in at least from my side, in him weathering the storm and such. But I don't have a lot in the way of perspective. I am shocked. I am saddened. But if anybody's in comic books and they're watching us, they know what happened. They know what went down. And it's just a big shame and a loss.
Yeah, we're just I think we're just belaboring the point to say that it's a tragedy. If anybody's new to this, Ed Piskor is a great professional cartoonist with a massive podcast following that was accused of some impropriety by a 17-year-old girl. Now she's like 20 ish, I don't know. Even if it was at its worst, as was said, it was recoverable. Some people might look at him differently, but it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. But Ed, took it on himself to commit suicide. He left a very detailed note, which I read, and it kind of lashed out at the people that had done him wrong. He made a real big statement, about piling on in the age of the internet and people not knowing the facts, and then just piling on and canceling him and, causing him to go to this extreme. I would just like to say, in the note, he did confirm, the basics of what the 17-year-old was talking about, but he completely denied
the allegations.
Right. He completely denied what the other girl, the other woman, was talking about. He had a completely other point of view, and I thought that would have been great to have had about a week earlier, because maybe you wouldn't have had all that piling on. He didn't make any public statement that I saw. And so it just festered, and not knowing anything does encourage people to just sit there and pile on, because there's like a presumption of guilt, even though it's completely wrong. He had a lot to say that you did see his point of view, and even the allegations of sending the girl some inappropriate text, even that, it gave his point of view, and it was like, okay, it could have been a lot more innocent than it sounded. But it just went terribly. Yeah, everything fell into place so that it would just went all terribly wrong.
I feel that the real central ish point to be made is Ed had his entire life in comics, Fantagraphics, and cartoonist kayfabe. Some of the things I have not watched that many videos. I'm actually like deleting them. Like I don't want to hear 35,000 people bringing up, and then getting the views if that's really what it's coming down to. Uh, I really do believe that he saw no way out, and it's obvious. So to make a decision as he made, um, he just didn't want to put that time, energy, and the feeling that comes along with some people thinking you're X, and I just,
I honestly, I couldn't believe it. Here's a
I
mature
still can't.
a
I
mature
still
adult in
can't.
his 40s. I mean,
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe this is an April Fool's thing. It'll happen on April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Apparently
Yeah.
not. The family confirmed everything. Um, the worst fears were realized. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was eminently survivable. I thought he had, a pretty good response. That was, kind of mixed and kind of, just real. It just gave the reality. Who knew? But he was just on the cusp of signing a $75,000 deal for his Switchblade
Wow.
Shorties comic,
Wow.
and
Wow.
he had a lot to live for. I don't know that deal would have been scuttled necessarily, because
Yeah.
it would have been perfect timing for him to just kind of hole up. And I mean, not perfect for him, but it would have been a good time for him to just hole up and do some work and maybe not have such a public image for a while. But it really shows, folks, when you leave a negative comment for somebody, there are folks that take it really hard, even if they pretend like they're not, and, I put myself in there too. You know, I might,
Me too.
I might be driven to distraction, and, you kind of like take it for a grain of salt, depending who it's coming from. Like if it's coming from somebody anonymous, but he was hearing from people that he had worked with and who had admired him. And he was hearing imagine if all the collaborators, that we worked with all of a sudden just threw us under the bus, without waiting to hear our side of the story. So he took it very hard, and I'm still hoping in the back of my mind this is all a joke, but apparently it's not. I don't know. I haven't heard of a funeral and a viewing of the body or anything like that. But
Yeah. Well, there was a funeral.
oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm sure the family, was doing all that, and then like he got into very like personal, private stuff in his suicide note, about the family, how much money they're gonna get, the whole division of the income and the revenue for comic
Wow.
kayfabe, and all of his work, and his lawyers and
Good
his agents,
Lord.
like take care of my family, and he said like there's $800 in my wallet in case the cops get sticky fingers. So
Wow.
so yeah, there it was, a real tragic story. I'm sorry, and I think coming out of this, the lesson is that uh, people can really, really be careful about what you put online, and we all have a habit of just saying anything we feel like in the moment, because our online selves are very separated, and miles apart from reality. But it could really hit hard, depending who the recipient is, and even if they seem like they have thick skin, it could drive them to the brink. I mean, I'm sure right now that both of the accusers feel horrible about this and never would have imagined that this would have happened. And now they're going to walk around, the rest of their lives and get blamed. And, there's going to be two camps, that, and one of the camps is going to be like, you caused this. I don't feel like these women should feel like they caused this, but, I should feel like they said their piece, and then he should have said his piece. But it's just a horrible tragedy. So I guess that's all I got. And and
Me as well.
yeah,
Me as well.
and so R.I.P.
It's nice though they are publishing what's ever in the archives for Cartoonist Kayfabe. So there is a feeling of normalcy again in my life, at least when it comes to my 9 o'clock morning breakfast and sitting with Cartoonist Kayfabe
Yeah.
and getting my day going and everything. But I've actually when there was downtime, I've been navigating back to B movies. So starting next week, you're probably going to get me. Oh, Jake, have you ever seen? Oh, Jake, you got to see. Oh, Jake, because I'm not
diversified.
Like I said, I'm not trying to. I think it's just too much. There's too much about that, and not enough about being creative, being healthy in your mind, and if you're not, seek loved ones and some assistance to get centered again. Everything is weatherable. Everything is weatherable. Please just understand everything is weatherable.
Yep,
and that's my biggest just takeaway from it. So
that's a good final message on this. I had a friend that did something similar. He had a bad couple of weeks, and and we were trying to reach him to to say weather the storm. There's there's light at the end of the tunnel, all that kind of cliche stuff, but he didn't make it. So R.I.P. Id Piscor, and folks, there's still a lot of value on the Comic Kayfabe channel. Regardless of personality, just go learn about comics and go learn about your favorite creators online. That's the the bottom line.
Yeah.
So on a
you went to a comic book show, did you not, Jake?
I did. Yesterday was the annual Fanfare NYC, which is a production event of the High School of Art and Design. Folks who follow this show closely might remember last year I went. Kurt is going to post some pictures of it here and here and here. I didn't take too many pictures. Actually, what it is High School of Art and Design is a specialized high school for visual arts, and they have a lot of great programs, including architecture, fashion, illustration, film, graphic design, digital art, they call it now. And they have the one and only cartooning program in New York State. It's a 3-year career and technical program approved by New York State. They're the only school in the city or the state that has it, and it is the most sought after major in the school. So this was their big showcase with all of their students getting free tables and selling if they want it, and selling their wares. And they don't want you to take photos. There was a lot of signs, no photos, because
why?
Yeah, they don't want. I think they don't want people taking photos of their characters. I'll tell you what it was, because it's really unfortunate, but when I spoke to one of the instructors for the cartooning program, I was coming from the perspective of a middle school teacher, and I'm saying, yeah, I have a lot of kids that just draw pinups, and they draw a lot of manga, and they're trying to draw their favorite characters or maybe even their own characters, but it's just a lot of cute little manga characters just sitting around doing nothing. I said, now you have an advanced program for it's called cartooning and sequential art. I said, so your kids are actually making like story pages, right, and character development, and he was like, no. He goes,
What?
he goes, welcome to my nightmare, because
Wow.
that's their work all day, every day, and their assignments are to get these kids to finally draw some sequential, some sequences, and to do some backgrounds, to do some lettering, to do all of the kind of like drudgery work, because they're all sitting around doing just either pinups or just cute characters. And I go table to table to table to table to table, and all you see is kids selling prints of cute
Ugh.
characters and selling
Not
magnets.
even their characters. Not even their characters.
Sometimes there's, sometimes not. I asked, and I was like, because I saw some tables, and Kurt, we got to get this. They have these little like wire screen things that you put
Right.
like around your table, like, and I think you get them at like IKEA or whatever. But they just go up so that you make like this little archway in your table, right? Like I'll show you what I mean. It's like, let's say you get a table and it looks like this, so they have these little wire things that stand up, right? And they're like, they just attach with these little grids. So you buy like two of them here, and
Yeah,
then
I
like
have that.
three
I
of
have
them,
them.
right?
I
And
even
then
have a bookshelf, like I have or a rack, a magazine rack,
right,
like you can put in there.
right,
So yeah, I mean,
and then behind it, you could get
yeah,
like you could get just like a stand, that has like a
yeah,
little display like
yep,
this,
yep.
or you
Got one of
could
them
get,
too.
or you could go to Staples and get the really long like printout thing that that stands up like this. Those are cool. Um, but they had these things loaded up, and sometimes it was like these keychains that are made with plastic shrinky dink stuff, and sometimes it was just like stickers that they had printed. Sometimes it was just a print from a digital printer, and you see a lot of kids had a lot of talent. Some kids were a little bit like one trick ponies with these little cute cartoons, but this was their opportunity. Now I did see a couple of kids that had comics, and they were like either mini comics or very short comics, it might only be like 16 pages. There were some kids that had ash cans, and they were just doing their own Xerox comics. And there's hundreds of these tables, you know I mean, dozens if not hundreds of these tables, and they're side by side with the pros. So, who was there yesterday? You had Larry Hama, you had Carl Barks, what's his name? Carl Potts, I mean. You had, I met this guy named, oh Christ, what was his name? His name was Batista, Chris Batista. And he was just over the moon because he was showing off all the latest pages of his new series that he's doing for, what was it? Not Madcap Productions, but Mad something Productions. He was doing the Battle of the Planets comic.
What?
And he was over the moon. They got officially licensed, and he was doing great artwork. This guy's a seasoned pro, and he was just like, I'm like, dude, what are you selling? Because he's just showing off his stuff, and everyone's going gaga over it. Really nice guy. He was looking at other people's work, and doing portfolio reviews and everything. But look out for that on Free Comic Day. He said that's coming out. Yes, and I was like, Mark, Jason, Seven's Arc 7. And he's like, no Seven's Arc 7. Seven's Arc 7 is gone. But they're having us do, some original characters, and they invented some cadets, and he was really just proud of it. And it was amazing artwork, and really like fine, like ultra detailed like buildings, and like everything getting destroyed in the background. These giant creatures and stuff. So there was a lot of fun stuff at the con. There was a couple of publishers that I never heard of, like Fair Square Publishing. That's a new one, and like some ex Marvel people got together. But what was really cool was when I went to those, they have those little workshops or lectures or whatever. And I went to one which was by Carl Potts. And if people don't know, Carl Potts was a penciler, inker that became a longtime Marvel editor. Uh, I think he said 16 years or maybe 12
Wow.
years. And he,
Wow.
he explained how he broke in. He said that he came from his small town to the big city. And who did he, meet up with but Jim Starlin? And he had a pitch for a series, that was like some kind of dragon character that was published. He said that Jim Starlin helped it get right in front of the right people, and they brought him right to Archie Goodwin, who at the time was the editor of the Black and White mags. And he said, "Yeah, this is really good," and he handed it to a couple other people, and it was just pencils. And he said, "I'd like to run this in Epic Illustrated," and it did. And he was like, "Well, we got to match you up with an inker. Go over there." So he walked over to the bullpen, and who's sitting over there but Terry Austin? Shows it to Terry Austin.
What?
Terry Austin said, "Yeah, I'd like to ink this, sure." And then he was like, "Who'd like to edit this?" And then it was like, some big name, I forgot who it was, said, I'll edit this." And who wants to letter this? And he just went right over to the bullpen. So he's telling this story about like first time luck. And then he said, "In my 12 years, becoming a penciler and editor and everything for Marvel, he's like, I never had anything go so smoothly in my life." And
Right.
he found out later that Archie Goodwin, I think Starlin took him under his wing. It was the early days, and he said that he found out later. Archie Goodwin said, "I'll give this kid some work if you do a cover for me." And Jim Starlin did the cover and never told him about that deal. And that's how he got his foot in the door. And he had a long career. He had a huge long list of, stuff that he edited and oversaw. And he was talking about, all the nightmares of production when artists don't come through with their work, and some people are slower than others, and putting the team together that you want. And a lot of good advice for people that are for novices and for high school students. The audience was a mix of high school students and adults that were there. There was a lot of fans there. Just I was disappointed yesterday. There was not enough vendors of used comics. Hello. I used to go before the pandemic, and I would buy like $40 worth of dollar comics at these cons. And I even asked them if I could get a table, so that I could bring a couple of boxes of used comics to sell. But I never heard anything back, so I guess I reached out too late. But um, it's a lot of good stuff there. One of the last thing I'll describe was another workshop they had where it was they had this one workshop that was just like going over the students' work. It was kind of cool. They were taking the work of the seniors at High School of Art and Design, and they were like reviewing them with a roundtable of pros, um, including Carl and some other guys that were there that had gone to the school themselves. And they worked on all kinds of different things like Sesame Street and children's books. And um, the other workshop lecture that I went to was with it had three creators. I don't remember. The one guy had worked for Marvel, but he broke off to make his own publishing company called Foursquare, and or Fair and Square or something like that. And then there was Amy Chu, and Amy Chu was very interesting because she had written for Marvel and DC, and she had written a lot of Red Sonja over the years. But she had like her own original stuff that she was putting out, not through Marvel. And she was talking about like character development, and that was the whole thing, was like having difficult conversations through illustrated comics and stuff. And she said some very interesting things. Like when I finally had my turn to ask a question, you know, they were asking questions about, how do you get the topics that you're writing about, and how do you make it, have some kind of like real world impact on readers. And so my question was, I said, to the panel, you know, in the last couple of like decades, we've had a lot of TV shows and movies where, like The Sopranos and The Sons of Anarchy, where the bad guys are the good guys, right? And like in The Sopranos, they would murder somebody every episode, and yet the audience is rooting for them and is really sympathetic to the characters. And I said, how do you approach that? How do you reconcile that? And she and Amy was put on her heels because she had written Poison Ivy for DC, and that's one of the things that she was tasked with doing. And she was like, well, it depends on the client, what the client is looking for, what they want. But she said it is a very interesting question because, even a bad guy, whether it's Doctor Doom or Thanos or whatever, they have their point of view, and it definitely makes it interesting reading for for readers to kind of encounter their point of view and even their justification, even if they're killing people. And there's also a question of whether or not there will be redemption, right? Because everyone's talking about Magneto is probably like the biggest, the most popular bad guy that became a good guy and now he's a bad guy again and all this stuff, right? So it I think the best answer was by one of the other guys who said, he goes, yes, it's an eternal question, and that's what makes writing fun and interesting, is to play with those kind of questions. But he said, it depends on your audience. If you're doing kids stuff, the guy that did kid books was saying, no, everything's got to be resolved by the end. Like he goes, at the end everybody's got to be like dancing happily to music, even if the bad guys are there, and everybody. But there, I mean, because that's how it used to be on TV and radio and everything. There had to be clear moral distinctions that
Yeah.
not only did the writer not approve of anything bad happening, but that by the end the bad guy had to get his just desserts. You couldn't just leave it where the bad guy wins in this chapter. You had to resolve that. So it made for a good question, and then they just ended the whole thing. So that is my report.
Well, thank you. Can we jump over to
Yes.
the teaser? Because I'm more interested in just getting your perspective. But the biggest question I have is the image. The image that you sent me. It's narrower. Like you can see how this has almost a.
Yeah, I think I popped in the official proportions of a comic. Now this could be popped right back,
Well,
but
yeah.
it just changed the ratio very, very slightly. But
Right. Yeah, give me. I'm just going to request right here now that I get one that doesn't, because we're trying to minimize as much of this white space over here. So having it raw, even from in the raw that I'm sending you, my art, my ink version, that there's still that, like for
yeah,
instance.
well, just if you have the space, just uncheck constraint proportions and bump it out to whatever you want.
What do you mean?
Well, I took what you gave me and I said, "Oh, this is not in the proportions of a standard comic," and so I put
Yeah,
it in the proportion of a standard comic. But if you're printing out the teaser
but you only
PDF,
did it. But you only did it. You only did it for this, right?
right, and the back cover, I think.
No, the back cover. The back cover you have pretty much it's standard because you can even see my the edge of my art
Right.
on
Okay.
here. Like I said,
Well,
you can't see. So but you didn't send me two versions
I
of
send
the
you the front and back
cover.
cover with the new face, right? And
Yeah. But the one I only have, I only received one image of each. So can in I can't remember, but in Quark, can you go back and reformat and get the edges of the original art in there?
it's not done in Quark. It's you can do it in Photoshop, or I just do it in Apple
Oh, so
Preview.
I've got to put my art behind
Yeah,
it,
if you
and
go
then
to
just
image
basically.
size, go to
Okay.
image size, then
Oh
uncheck the
I got
box
I
that
got
says
it. Oh yeah.
constrain proportions, and make sure that you don't that you don't lose any resolution. Um, yeah, so uh, now my printer is super dark. Um, so I might be looking as we're doing this at the actual PDF on my screen. And the first thing that jumped out. Now I wonder if we want to. I was looking real close up at some of these faces, and like down here they're pretty detailed. This came up yesterday with Carl Potts. It was like when you're doing crowd scenes, like some questions came up like, what do you do about things that you don't like to draw, like horses and trucks and things like that? He was like, you should be running to those things and you should be working on that, especially because that's exactly what editors are looking for. And he mentioned crowd scenes. He says, do some detailed guys up in the front and then have some mid range guys where it's starting to get a little less detailed. And in the back, you just do indications, and sometimes you just like use shading and just black everything in or just shade everything in. I'm wondering if Turbo might pop out a little better if we took this whole thing from the ground up to the stanchions here and put a very light tint over that. What do you think? I'm not definite, but what do you think?
I just want to bring you back into the teaser space. Like I know your perspective is the final comic, and really, one of the other conversations I think we'll have today once we clear, let's say the final check approval of this teaser is, the next thing we could be working on focus wise is getting issue one completed by the end of the year. So then that is going to change our perspective, because my perspective has never been making a comic book like an issue. I when I stepped in and said, "Hey, we need to start putting teasers together." It's the whole wet noodle to the wall and what sticks. Now I don't have any reservations in trying things, but my opinion and point of view for the teaser is to get it out there and get the honest reactions,
Right, but this isn't
especially
going.
from our peers.
Uh-huh. I get that. Like what you're saying is for the story pages, we can just fix anything we want before we go to the final printing of the first
Well,
issue.
to be honest with you, a couple of the areas in the first 6 pages, I went back and reworked.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
right.
as we keep clearing this teaser thing, you know what I mean. I'll make it even more specific, Jake. I don't want us walking away from this teaser thinking these pages are completed.
Got
So
you.
therefore, I have not invested everything of myself into these pages. In other words, I'm not trying to make them free and clear and perfect and ready for publication for worldwide distribution. It's just a teaser. So if I don't want to spend too much time. I'm hoping you actually spend some time this week with the pages and have already made, like, can we try this and try that?
Yeah, so what you're saying
Because
is I can do it myself. Um,
yes, I can.
right. Because
because that becomes your version of the teaser.
right. Well, I mean, I would hope that I would send you a copy and that we keep the improved
And I'll
version.
send you a copy of mine.
Right. Well, I'm going to try to have only one. The improved one will be the final one. But when it comes to
What do you mean by I don't understand final one in a teaser sensibility? See,
because
I'm
the
taking
teaser,
an educator's approach to it, Jake. And
uh-huh,
and the educator's approach to it is our viewership most definitely has individuals in there that are struggling to put something to print. The big thing is this overwhelming sense of personal objective perfection of the final product without getting things out there in order to hear feedback. And the only
right,
feedback you're really going to get is if you come on, you come on to the Indie Comic Exchange, and the three of us pitter around on it. I have yet to really invest myself in the domain of very specifically if any publisher would give a shit about my work. I'm beyond that in trying to make a living. From you coming out of the comic book show you went to yesterday, and your own position as an art educator, I don't want to create any null and void for your side of the argument. Hence, doing these teasers allows us to be able to do things to the pages back and forth in order for us to create that closer, completed perfection ideal thing. Is that clear? Like, am I coming
yeah.
across clear?
I think what you're saying is that you'd prefer speed to get to press rather than going back and doing finalization or.
It's not so much speed, but I don't have the OCD thing, so I never go into a tailspin if I see something that's not within the parameters that I thought should be. It's more about getting fans of our channel and people who are out there making their own stuff to do this, to make a teaser, get it all the way to a point, because today is really the day that we call it quits on the teaser, not the pages.
Right. So I get that these pages can be changed and changed and changed, but this is
They
not going
will
to be.
be. Yeah, they will be. They will be changed.
Right. So I get that.
And I would and we already, the face, you've already changed the face on Turbo on both sides. So we even brought it up last episode. You might be going back in and finalizing these pages. Do you see what I mean?
Yep. So
But I still have my version of these pages, which I can do what I want with them in print.
right. Okay. I need to be able to talk for like 30 seconds.
Go for it.
I get what you're saying. These pages can always be revised and revised and revised. That's great. This is not going to be in the final comic. This is not going to be in the final comic. So this is the end of the line. Right. This.
Well, no, these are pinups. These will be in the comic. It might. I feel.
Okay.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I would love to see this, as well as it's all going to be based on resolution, but this as well, spaced throughout the comic. Maybe in the middle, or I don't know. I mean, I don't have this, like, I don't know. I believe we're starting to come across the intersection in the expectation of what the final comic book looks like. Hence, working on the Turbo teaser. So, because God forbid if I ink 28 pages and you turn around and say, okay, now every page that has Turbo in it, you have to do this now.
Yeah, well, remember that the original Turbo had tattoos on every on.
I get.
That's going to be a luxury edition one day. So yeah, so yeah, and people can hear, Kurt and I, we are working through all these questions right now. My vision was that this was going to be a comic book, a floppy comic book that was going to be 32 pages plus covers, no ads, no pinups, no nothing. Maybe that changes if we, by the time we finish all these teasers and we have all these pinups, to change the page count. All the work is done. There's definitely an argument for that too. Um, I was just trying to say, what do we need to do to get this camera ready, so that we can, today or this weekend, so that we can, just send it out. So if you can send this to me, high res one more time.
Well,
um,
that's just yours. That's
oh,
just your file. That's
yeah,
you want that on there. Okay.
yeah. One thing, because I wasn't sure if you were gonna do this, but I can just do this myself. This turbo teaser here, it's too bright. It's really
Okay.
taking away attention. I purposely made the masthead kind of like kick back. I love the lettering. I like how you did this here. I do want to, now that I'm thinking about it, I do want to take like just a light tint, yeah, maybe from here up, and I want to have it gradated. So the farther you get back, the darker it
Okay.
gets, because that will
Okay.
really kind of conceal, anywhere that was like scribbly or scratchy. And then there's less chance that anyone's gonna like zoom in. Oh, like that guy has a puppy face. These I don't really see anything else with that.
All right.
I wonder if my printer is like kind of cutting this off. I wonder if we're a little too close on the bottom, just so that we don't want to have the nightmare of our masthead getting trimmed at all. So
Right.
maybe we want to just build in like an extra, you know 16th of an inch or something. But my printer is definitely cutting it off here.
Right.
um that's why you get a proof. So I'm not going to go over these pages. We get to this page here. This is the first new page. So I remember going over this before, how this black and white right here on this guy's legs kind of takes away from everything else that's going on here. There's a lot of great detail here and here and here and here, but I thought this was a little harsh. So I
Yeah, I had notes that I was to flare out from the back. Do you want
yeah,
like
bring some
the?
black into the white and bring some white into the black, so that
All
it's
right.
more, I guess, like rough texture, or not like, it's not shiny patent leather, suppose,
Right.
kind of a look. Because I know, like, the first set of feedback that I gave you and others gave you was like everything's too gray. But this, that one point right there is just too black and white. So contrast that, I would say. If you want, I could do this stuff too, but I think tonight I have to vacuum. um th- this is great. This kind of is confusing, that these are speed lines. I think you're trying to do like the thing where this is speed line, but it looks like he's on fire. So I would just maybe add some more lines around that. I mean, the things I'm talking about only take a second, but
Sure.
add, and then maybe some impact lines here, whether that's blood
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
shiny lines. Um, I think this, yeah, these hard black areas, we just said, like, let's just put a couple of white specks in there, right? So whiten up these two legs and this one arm here. His face, it's hard to see what's going on here. We might need to simplify that. Can we see the eyes, nose, and mouth? And if the eyes, if I'm seeing right, it looks like the eyes are not looking down; they're looking ahead, like towards the camera, which wouldn't be what was in the pencils, I don't think. This looks great here. Always show the impact of the blood, coming off, blood splatters coming off. This is a bloody mess for sure. Did I have this in the pencils where there's this little straw and then the air coming out of it? Because
I can.
I think that this is confusing. You're asking somebody to see that this is getting shot out, and then they come up here. I just had this. I think I just had the straw without the airlines there, or less airlines, because it looks like it's even going into the same panel, and that kind of confuses the reader a little.
Yeah, there's no airlines. It's just the end of the
Yeah, I would just show the straw, because then this is the only motion, this is the only conveyance of motion here.
right, right.
Um, and I don't think I have these little triangles here where you're really overemphasizing the fact that the dart is sticking in here. Um, I was kind of de-emphasizing that because it was supposed to be stealthy, and I think the viewer would get that if the dart has some contrast here. Um, so I think if that was added in, it was making it too obvious. Um, we're on this page now. So that was page 7, right? So now we're on page
Right.
6.
8.
Oh, huh?
This
Oh,
page
that
8.
was
This
right,
page
7
8.
and 8. So, um, okay, I don't want to see anything. So yeah, this face here, it looks like the white kind of got away with itself. It's kind of distracting. I would go back in with some shading here, you know, and just so because you had some shading there, and then I think it was too heavy, and we said go in with some white, but
Yeah,
now there's too much white. So then go back in, not with black, but with some light gray
right,
lines, and
right.
put the
Yeah, I can flatten that out. I can also
yeah,
flatten those
the
shapes
typical
out.
shading that you have here and everywhere else. Um, this looks great. Yeah, this is great. This is great. Um, so this is page 9. Some of the, I mean, if you look at the lettering from the first page, from the first couple of pages to this page, it seems like we're really speeding up on the lettering. Um, it's not like it's unreadable or anything, but it's just much more kind of like hand style rather than. I mean, this looks like you're tracing over a perfect computer printout, right? And then there's just a couple of areas. Like I would just say, like this box. If you fix that box, then maybe some of the other boxes don't have that much of a distraction. I also like I like when you're doing the bold here and there. I think we should probably do that a little bit more. But
It's the biggest issue I have with the lettering is there's the words are so compressed, and when I mean I'm giving them a little bit of air the way I'm hand lettering over your template, if you will,
yeah,
and then we have the luxury of especially his majority of talk. I added these boxes of the jagged lines and the gray screen. So because this is it's like 10 to maybe even 15% larger than the box, the original box. So it starts getting us into iffy territory where we're covering too much of the action and the figure stuff. So it's just once again going forward, I'm the next pages I end up inking, which I'm terrified is going to ultimately work better, which means I'm going to have to come back and re-ink, re-letter the first 12 pages because I think what it is that I'm going one for one, 13 by 19 to 13 by 19 from your submission to that, but you know there was a lot of compression, and so I don't have enough in the way of air to get in there.
yeah,
So it does get a little because I get a little panicky as I'm like shit. I'm going to go all the way out here if I
yeah.
keep
Well,
giving a
well,
little bit of air
we can always
going
fix
that
it.
way. So
We can always fix it, and I would definitely volunteer to help. If it was just going in and just like, fine tuning letters in Photoshop. The lettering in Photoshop. That's easy enough. One thing I noticed between your first round of Jaggy word balloons for the announcer and this current round is it looks like you're getting a little more like out there. They seem like they were flat, or like it seemed like it was jaggy, but it was like flat, and that is making the boxes go farther into the artwork. You know,
Right.
like the I guess they call that the amplitude of the
Exactly.
right. So
It's getting more and more exciting. Like these were the pages it was going, because the
right,
last thing, he says is over here, which is, oh my word, please everybody do as they say. And then we don't know what happens to him, whether he's killed or not. So, it was like you said, there is that sense of amplification.
yeah,
So
if like this one right here, I don't know if you can see real quick. This one right here, this is actually going over into the next
right,
panel, and so
right.
now somebody might think that he's saying this. If they're really not following along,
Yeah, I would drag that back.
So I would make these, either going forward or going backwards, whatever. But just make these flatter and make them jaggy, but flat, because that buys us some space too. So that we're not cutting into the artwork as much.
Right.
Here you have a lot going on here with the diagonals. So this is very very jaggy. I would think I think when they're talking about and on curves, you have like the amplitude and the what is it called? The space apart, the frequency, right? And so like make the mountains lower, here too. And then also sometimes you're getting like a thin and thick, like you're using a calligraphy pen. And
Well, I'm using the yeah. I mean, it was something. Once again, it was something that I was investigating. My mind ultimately wants my mind has to see it in order for me to say it's right or wrong, or it's and right or wrong. I think is too harsh. I think it's what the anticipation was,
yeah.
and did it meet the anticipation or did it exceed it? And as you said, the amplification from here was conscious to make these now more shouty, more prevalent, because we were leading ourselves
Yeah, well,
through that.
I thought we were trying to de-emphasize the it's pretty word heavy. It's where the
Exactly.
so I
And
thought
that was a discussion. Yeah. I mean, if it looks to me or us that we need to redo these, then I believe once again it would be at another point in time.
right. Yeah, I'm fine with that. But yeah, but
You know what I mean? Like once again, it goes back
I
to
don't
this
want
whole
to. I don't want
teaser
to lose.
thing.
I don't want to
It
lose
goes
these notes, though.
no. This is not. These aren't going anywhere. And it's I think one of the for me, Jake, one of the exciting processes that we're experiencing, you and I, is this live interaction, and being able to go back a year later in the videos and see what we said, or these, because I keep these bagged and filed away. So these are very important for me, but it's also it's part of that process. So you know.
Right. And
And we'll find out what happens. We'll find out what happens when we get to, God only knows what happens when we get to quote unquote trying to finish the first issue. Because the thing the thing we have to constantly remind ourselves is you and I are only devoting 4 hours on a Sunday every week.
Yeah.
I spent 2 days getting us to this point. I was able to basically use my weekend to get us to this point. So we also need to be very conscientious about that in our process making. This is not what we do for full time. This is very important to both of us, but
Hobby
time
crap.
is a reality. It's just a reality. And
Yeah.
wanting things is one thing, but putting things off a whole nother week is detrimental, in my opinion, to
Last
getting
weekend
ourselves out there.
I had a 4-day weekend last weekend, so I spent a lot of time on the on the those two the front and back covers.
Which are awesome.
I'm
Which are
looking at the
awesome.
time. It's 11:08. So let's see.
Yeah,
if we can
we're
jam on
over
this.
45 minutes, right?
Here, here, yeah. I talked about the word balloons. Here, I think you had some glow around this dart before, and we asked you to take the glow away, but now you put some shiny lines around it instead. And I think this is perfectly framed up with just the black. And you know,
So take these out. Take
yeah,
these out.
I don't think there was anything like that on the
Okay.
pencil. I don't remember, but it looks like the way you have this black behind it, it's perfect. So just take all that out. It seems like just an easy cover up job.
Yeah.
Just this it's I'm not just like I guess like zeroing in on this one little thing, but just when you're doing these little like you know, shiny lines thing to go, you know, clack to emphasize the clack, I would kick that back gray so it's not 100% black, and then feel free to do stuff like that all the time with like lighter tones.
Okay.
Here, who's got my 50 creds? Yeah, I like this. This is so much. There was so much detail on this. You know, that was great. So here, I some of these holes in the chairs, they look too alike. If you can just like make some of it, like I would take some out and then just make some different from others, so it doesn't look like they're exactly the same. Like, you know, it looks too coincidental. I guess it could be, but you know, I just thought that was distracting. Moving along. Wait, yeah. So where you do these strings, you did this on the cover. I'm not in love with making these white strings. You know, I think, you know, in Turbo she's got shiny black hair, and this makes it seem like she went and got some highlights or something. So yeah, try. I know sometimes you're just doing edge lighting, but if it's edge lighting,
Right.
you know, it's different. You know, I love you know, the Charles Burns hair and everything. You know, that's what
Right.
I'm going for a lot of the time. And so I don't see that too much, but I saw it on one of the covers, and then here. So you know, be cautious on that. Um, on this thing, I think we spoke about this. This one seems fine, but this one seems like a weird shape. It looks like a Japanese lantern or something, a paper lantern. Um, and there's no sound effect there. Maybe you just want to have like a big
Ooh.
kapow. You know,
What
maybe
about butter? What about butter?
right, right. Kaplow, ka-chow, ka-chow. Whatever we use in other places, right? Paf, 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 cha, 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 pack, pack,
Can I
pack.
use butter?
Yeah, I think butter butter comes from the first appearance of the Punisher in Spider-Man 128. I if
Which
I
I
got that,
had, so maybe I'm just
I
bringing
had it
that
too.
back up.
I had it since I had a subscription, but it came folded in the mail. Um, So moving on here, I think we spoke about this distracting, but you know, I don't know if this like little half moon here or crescent moon
Right.
should be white at all. You know, I think
Yeah,
that
like
should be
gray it.
just kick
Gray.
it back. I know you're looking at her butt,
Right.
man, but
It's that I can't stop the old R crumb thing. That's just me.
um, so I don't know why this is so light back here. I just wonder if I'm losing it because I know my printout is really dark, and so the fact that this is fading is this supposed to be like in a haze of like smoke or something?
Right, because there's all this like, action and visually I wanted this to be separated from back there, so I just
Right.
hit it with a spray can. Pow pow.
Nail her, boss
Mask and
spider
spray.
ninja's out now. Um, yeah, okay, so yeah, maybe you want to just bring back, and if something's getting lost, like if you squint, a lot gets lost. Like even with this too, maybe you want to just bring some of that back.
Yeah,
Got it pinned in, fry her. Jesus fucking sucks. Um, here I don't want to. I don't know. It looks like she's got buck teeth or something here. Um, my rule of thumb is never draw the full dividing lines between the teeth. I sometimes it
yeah.
works, but usually it looks like more of a gap than you ended up
Right.
wanting. Unhand me, let me down. Balls. It goes. Oh, so this is the end right here.
Yep.
Um,
Oh,
and
I
then
got it. You know what we need to do is we need to say to be continued.
yeah, right. To be continued, right?
I got to bring that over. Dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, because
Cool.
people, I'm sure this is like the point where people are really into it, and then they're like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yep.
I wonder right here if you just took a couple of gray tones and just kind of like blended this in, really not much, but it looks like this is like a washout area right here, and then we're into this, right,
Yep. Yep.
which is all fully realized, right? I see you
Yep.
got the barcodes in there. Um,
Yep.
once this teaser goes out there, we're gonna start having a. I'm gonna put online at least the first Substack. I know we have like
We
one or
have to talk about that. That's probably something we should make time for next week because you had brought up the me taking care of the scheduling and
and
running
drops.
of
Yeah.
the site. Yeah. Yep.
Well, that
Yep.
would be great for me. I mean, I know I have to do all the writing and or the pictures, but
Right.
I
Right.
would be fine with that because it'd be one less thing for me. And you're doing those drops anyway with your other Substacks.
This is true.
Here
This is
this is getting cut off. We're missing the Doom magazines and the thrust into a condemned world. I'm wondering if we send this off to press, if we're dangerously close to the edge, and if we
well. We
need.
got to go bleed. That's the thing we have to specify is
Yeah,
that we got a full bleed because if you got a full bleed, you're going to be able to get it. Other than like you were saying earlier about having like a 16th of an inch, shoving down and you're
yeah,
tightening it up. But it's funny because it's such a weird place when you do bring things like text up to it because
yeah.
sometimes it can look like it's too far down and there's too much space above it to the trim. So
I mean, I
once
might
again,
even
it gives us a bonus here in putting that out.
yeah, we're gonna have to ask the printers like
Right,
for
right.
the exact blue line templates
I'm
that
gonna
they
put
need.
that.
I mean, I
Yeah,
I think it would be kind of easy in Photoshop to just grab this line and just vertically scale it down to like half or three quarters of what it is. But same thing's happening up here. Do magazines? I don't know. My printer is just it's not concerned with your edges. You say you have a different printer than me. Looks like you got a little bit more, but if you're gonna be if we're gonna be getting anything printed out of Kinko's, those are the kind of things that a printer, a professional printer doesn't really concern themselves with.
yeah.
Oh, I just noticed this. Is this bad here? That
What bad?
it seems like there has to be some black here for her arm.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That was my bad on the pencils,
No, I could.
right?
That's an easy. That's easy.
It's an easy fix, yeah, but these
Yeah.
are
Oh
the
yeah.
things that we notice. If I put this down for 20 minutes and I pick it back up, everything
Oh,
I thought would
but
be something
but
completely
but
different.
I just want to say it again. I want us to help lead a way for others out there to get some things completed, get them in a teaser format where they can go to a show, hand them to some other individuals, or at least have something to physically open up and show. But you're absolutely right, Jake. I mean, you and I are consummate professionals. Perfectionism, I think, is still determined on who's more perfection, and I would give it to you wholeheartedly because I don't believe in perfectionism. I actually enjoy imperfections, but at the same time, we have to look at this at a professional level. And I love working with you. I have a tendency to get very passionate about ideas, but that's all they are. I'm not sewn to them or handcuffed, shackled to them. So I'm always easily persuaded. But I do live in a place where, as you said earlier, there's a bit of speed where I want to see it printed. And
Right.
then once it's printed, and because this is more art to me than this. This is just one more step closer to getting to this. This is what I love as an art form. So, and that's just me.
You had the suggestion not too long after we started this podcast to stop at these plateaus, get something out, promote our ideas, but also, it enables us to take a different kind of a look at our own work and our own progress. Yes, the things that we're doing are ultimately going to help the final product. In my boozy dream world, I see this as as one of the books on your bookshelf at your local, bookstore. And in order to get distribution, you have to really impress, and you also need the buzz, and you also need your own following. You got to prove all these kind of things. But I totally agree with you. Like, let's take some time out. Like, all the time it took us to make this, all the time it took us to make this and this and this.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily behoove us for this, but it's a great. I mean, I think it's great for our podcast. It's great for my mind to really start to see the interior pages in their final format, the whole story, the whole company, the other things that we're offering, with the Substack and everything, kind of jumping off from these things. So, I'm right with you. We just did, a round of corrections, which is a second round of corrections. Some partners might be at each other's throats, because one guy wants to, finish up and, it's only a temporary teaser. And the other guy's like, yeah, but I see this, 30 seconds of it is wrong, So, you just saw all that, and the important thing is we're bullying through. This is probably our third week in a row where we said, this is the final episode before we send this thing off to press. But I think sometime this week Kurt is going to send me a PDF, and I'm going to send this off. I'm sending this off to a printer for reals, and all
right. Well, we've got 10 minutes away from having Mike White on to talk about Robot Plus Girl and in our indie exchange. So we do have to shut this down. I have nothing else to say other than get back out there, read comics, make them if they do. But thank you, Jake.
Yes, all I have to say is check out our other channels. We got Comics That Influence. We have over 50 episodes of flip-throughs of great comics that you probably don't see every day. And then we also have our Indie Creative Exchange, which Kurt just mentioned. So tune into our other channels too if you're bored of watching us make this comic. I said it.
Peace.
Peace out.